The creative process can often feel messy. You hear a song and it sparks some inspiration for something you want to shoot, or you see something on Vimeo and you want to create your own version of that. Knowing how to translate your creative ideas into a concrete plan is a skill I'm still trying to get better at, but I think by showing you some of my past work, it'll hopefully act as a roadmap for when you plan your next shoot. Milanote is the bridge between your creative ideas and a technical plan. Before they even reached out to me, I was already using them on each project and have recommended them in past videos, so stick around because there's tons of useful information in this video. This is applicable to music videos, commercials, short films, or whatever it may be. There's the famous chart of cheap, fast, and good, and you can only choose two of these options. If it's fast and cheap, it won't be good. If it's cheap and good, it won't be fast. I try to strive for the cheap and good categories, which is usually why I spend tons of time in pre-production, and that's why my projects take so long to create. Sure, you can just go out with a camera and wing it and figure it out on the day, but I think by following some of these simple tips, you'll end up creating work that you're a lot more proud of, so let's jump right in. Most of all my projects have stemmed from an initial conversation. This can be a rough idea, a video, an image, a camera move, and it's your job to dissect that and turn that into a concrete plan. I'm lucky enough to work closely with directors to ensure our shoots will go smoothly, but if you don't have the luxury of that, you can always just do this homework on your own. If you are working with a director, having a conversation about their idea is crucial. Ask them things like, what sort of vibe/aesthetic are we going for? What's the overall tone? How do you picture things being shot? In this conceptualization phase, that's usually when we'll start a Milanote board. That way we can share as many thoughts, images, references, and really just get on the same page creatively. I like to look at Milanote as a blank piece of paper where you can share all these things and end up creating a cohesive piece. If you're doing a project solely by yourself, I usually like to start with the film pre-production template and going from there. You can see how that evolved with my Depop project over here. I really just started with this document and just inputting whatever came to mind. You can use point form just to brainstorm notes, which is how this project actually started, and you could see how that evolved in this board. I even created a character profile where I just wrote what character qualities I had in mind for our actor, and our actress was able to look at this document and get inspired by it and try to get into my head as well. Moodboards. I can't stress enough how important it is to share images. It'll just get you on the same page immediately, and it'll inform things like camera language, framing, color, lighting, and so much more. If you want a good place to find images, I recommend going to FrameSet. You can go through curated stills from music videos, commercials, movies, and you can go through certain prompts as well. I'll usually browse through FrameSet and save things into sets, and then from there I'll download them all at once and drag everything into Milanote, which self-organizes everything into a mood board. This is really my favorite part of the creative process because it can spark so many ideas during this phase. If you put my mood boards next to my final images, you can really see the DNA in each of them. This is also super useful if you're working with an art director or production designer. For example, with the Depop piece, this led to us having a conversation about color palettes. So in this subboard right here that my production designer Liliana created, she took some of our reference images that I really liked and extracted the color palettes from them. Then from there, in Milanote, she used the color picker to find the dominant color in each room. So for example, with this image, the complementary color was red, and she used the color picker to show that in contrast to red, green is the complementary color, so she's gonna add greens in the far corner. Or for this room over here, she's gonna use a cream tablecloth and patterned dishes. This just helps make things more visual and able to get me on the same page as her as well. Once you've found these images, it's crucial to go deeper and ask yourself, what do I like about these images? Is it the lighting, the framing, the composition, the set design, the color? Learn to be analytical with these types of things. That way you can whittle down your idea and just really nail the vibe you're trying to create. Location Scout and Tech Scout. By doing the previous steps, you'll likely have a rough idea for where you want to shoot. For Toronto Funhouse, we biked around the city trying to find cool locations to film at, and the last thing you want to do is be on your shoot trying to figure out where to go next. By doing a location scout, you'll have so much information about where you're going to be shooting. You could see here with this board, my art director Liliana created this very detailed plan of the rooms we were going to be shooting in. We took pictures on the Scout, and from there she was drawing over the images to show we're going to remove these animal heads and adding plants in the back corner over here, adding where the vacuum is going to be in the Walkman and headset, and even creating this checklist over here to check things off as she goes. And by creating this plan right here, you can see how the final image turned out. Even with this board right here, she showed her crew members that we're going to be changing the color of the sheets, the color of the curtains. We're going to add a stack of books, and she really just got detailed with these boards over here. This one right here, you know, she has a picture of a trampoline and an old school TV to indicate to her crew that she'd have to add those things as well. Not all my location scale boards are as complex as that. Sometimes it's as simple as just dragging in images from our location scout photos into a subboard. I got a lot of questions about Cadridge on the Toronto Funhouse video, and this is a really great app because you can input your camera and lens data. By taking these photos, you can see exactly what the frame is going to be. This is great for scouting because it displays all your information at the bottom, like what camera you're going to be shooting on, what lens size you're going to choose, and even the direction you're facing. But if we go to my Amber Milanote, I got a little bit more technical with drawing things on my location scout photos. So for example, with this photo, I wanted to black out the window and it was 10 by 10 in size. You can simply just draw over your photos or over this skylight. I indicated to the crew to put a 12 by 12 over it. It's just great to have a place where you can import all these photos and just get everybody on the same page. Previs and storyboards. For almost all my projects, I've had them completely fleshed out beforehand. I shot what's called a previs, which is short for pre-visualization, which basically shows how things are going to be shot and how things are going to flow. And I usually like having these live on the main page of my Milanote board. That way my crew members can know what I'm talking about and how the video is going to flow. If we go to the Amber one as well, you could see how similar these came together. I'll create subboards in Milanote as well, and depending on the scope of the project, you can create storyboards like I did for the Depop project using my photos from Cadridge. And what's cool about this is you can just choose the film storyboard template, and from there you can just drag in images and create your own scene names and descriptions. I got super specific with how everything was going to turn out. Lighting plans. I've experimented with a few different apps for lighting plans, but the one I keep going back to is Shot Designer. Shot Designer is pretty old and hasn't really been updated, but it does everything you need it to do. You could see here for the Amber one, I started by building the walls and adding key set components like where the couch was going to be, where the camera is, and where the talent is. This was super informative because we had tons of practical lights and there was a lighting cue, and I was able to hand it to my gaffer and show where the practical lights were going to be. Once I'm done that, I'll export it as a JPEG and create a subboard in Milanote and drag my lighting plan in there next to the location photo so people can know what room we're shooting. Depending on the scope of the project, you can see it gets more detailed for some projects. For the Depop project, we were shooting in tons of different rooms, so I created multiple lighting plans for each room, and that way I just dragged everything into Milanote so everything's in one place. Gear lists and crew. Along with your creative ideas, I like to make logistical notes in Milanote. I also create subboards for my gear list in Milanote as well. I break things down into camera and grip and lighting. That way when I'm sending things off to rental houses, I can just copy all this information and put it into an email. I'll even go as far as writing things like bring hard drives, cables, and iPad. That way you won't forget those sorts of things, and the last thing you want to do is have your day held up by a missing cable. You can even see in the Toronto Funhouse board, we had a rough schedule that we made in Milanote as well, just to keep all of our information in one place. As I'm in pre-production, I'll also start to think of who I want to bring on board to these projects. I'll create a subboard and add my crew list in there as well. Milanote is really the hub behind all my creative projects. You can sign up for free using the link in my bio. If you like this video and want to see more videos like this, then check out this one I have queued up. Thanks for watching.